to another episode of Shifting Schools. It's May, which means we are all about our May micro menu around AI literacy. So excited that I get to be here and record another episode with Tricia. Tricia, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. It's always a good day when I get to have a conversation with you, Jeff, my friend.
Oh, thanks. That's so nice. As we get started here, let's remind people about our Foundation AI literacy that's on sale now. Tricia, do you want to talk to them more about that?
I think we get a lot of questions around what folks can do to support their community in this tumultuous time where there's so much happening with AI. The pace feels frantic. Jeff, you and I are big believers. You want to support everybody. We've got our early adopters, but we also have our bold, brave beginners. So foundational AI literacy is for folks who they kind of need a little bit of the 101 support. They aren't sure necessarily how to engage with generative AI tools, and they want a strategic, systemic approach to kind of uncovering ways that they can use this technology for teaching and learning in a way that's not overwhelming and not confusing. So it's on sale now. It's available May 18th. It's an asynchronous pathway, which means you do as much learning as you want at a time. We've broken it up into 5 chapters so that you can set the pace. So really, my recommendation would be if you check out this pathway, just take 10 minutes a day for about a week. That's it. I think giving yourself some time to digest and process and reflect it is and can be useful. And we don't want folks feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, and it'll be videos made by Tricia and I specifically for the pathway that you'll find in there. And of course, you can place it 2 times speed. You don't even have to play us if you don't want to. You can skip through it. Again, that's the one thing we love about these asynchronous pathways that we make is you are in control of your learning. Just a reminder, as a listener of the podcast, you can save $25 off the foundational AI literacy when you use the code SSPOD, that's all capital, SSPOD25. That'll take $25 off, making it $50. It's $50. If you've got PD funds here at the end of the year, you got $50. You can take it, have it, learn with it, be able to share it with others if you'd like. It comes in a Google slide deck. It's pretty easy to use. So it's our way of just giving back as well. So again, that is our AI Foundation in AI Literacy course. You can find more information about that over at shiftingschools.com. Right, Tricia, as we're recording this, we've just had 2 big updates, one from OpenAI, and then, of course, not to be outdone, Google was going to wait to their Google I/O conference, which comes up just here in a few days as we're recording this, but they couldn't wait. And so they had to say, yeah, well, we've got something coming too. We've got this thing called Google Astra that is coming out. Do you want to talk to people? What's your takeaway about where we're headed with AI and what do these new updates mean for us?
For me, there's really 2 things I'm thinking about. One, the multimodal news from OpenAI that, again, for those of you who were not using the paid version of ChatGPT, that now you can interact with it. It can sort of be looking around at your environment. It can be checking out your screen. You can be talking with it in a way that's a little bit more natural sounding. For anybody that hasn't done that yet, it's almost eerie, I would say. Like it's a little bit unnerving if you haven't experimented with that yet. And Jeff, I'm thinking so much about what AI means for our social, emotional learning. As you and I know from talking to students, many of them are already using some of these chatbots as kind of a companion / mentor. And I think we want to have that conversation with students because we always want to make sure we're not giving away personal information. That's really key. But the other thing I'm thinking about, especially with this OpenAI update, is they've made this newest version available for everyone.
Yeah, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that was really super interesting. And I don't know, Jeff, if you watched the live streams or if you checked out any of the other resources, but for anybody that did not make that live stream from OpenAI, if you go to their website, you can also see a few use case videos where they've got these videos that are kind of just 90 seconds touring you through some of the ways that you can use this technology. And if you haven't checked that out, I really would encourage folks to take a look at those videos.
Yeah, and just be thinking about what's this going to mean for us in education. I know it's the end of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. Really, I think we're looking at this point, what could this mean for us next year? How could this support students? I thought one of the interesting things that came out of it is you and I had talked on the podcast before about OpenAI working with and partnering with Be My Eyes, which was to support people who had sight impairments to be able to see things around them in their world. And they really leaned into that. They even talked about their partnership with Be My Eyes. I think there's so many incredible things that this is going to do for humans. And if we can keep that as a mindset, how does this stuff support us as a human race? I think it becomes really powerful the way we look at it rather than from a fearful mode of, oh, kids are going to cheat.
Mhm.
I think we just have to keep our if we keep open mindset about how is this supporting all of us, and some of us who have disabilities or might have slower processing skills or whatever that might be. What's the real power here for all humans? And I think there is just incredible time period of innovation happening right now. And this is again just the tip of the iceberg, because you know how it is like OpenAI and Google announce these things, and that allows imagination to start inside the development community. And I would love to even go to students, play some of these for students and say, what do you think? What could you make with this? What's your imagination of, okay, we now have this technology. How could you implement this? What a great, I think, just imaginary, getting kids' imagination to start really springing up around some of the technology that they're going to have in their lives would be a really cool moment as well. So just a lot
Absolutely.
of good stuff.
Yeah,
So
I think as you're looking at maybe some of those use cases and you're thinking about the multimodal element, I mean, I mentioned the whole idea of you can share your screen now with ChatGPT and it can interact with your computer screen. Just ask students, like, what does that mean for you
yeah,
and the way that you learn and the way that you work? If you were giving like a live update, what might you share?
yeah,
I think that's a great idea, Jeff, to again invite the students to be sharing their own ideas for what this might mean. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. The more folks that have access to that, we see people come up with novel ways of using that technology. So it's just another reminder to me of how important the experimental mindset is right now. That you've got to test things, you've got to try things out. In his book, Dr. Ethan Mollick talks about how it's been teachers who actually have been really great using generative AI technology because we
mm,
are used to that idea of try things out, test things out in different ways, don't give up after the first try. So I've been thinking a lot about that recently too.
yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I was going to show you, and I know people are listening, but I'm going to show you on screen. I got a copy of the One World Schoolhouse from Salman Khan, but this is my favorite part of it. It's sitting here on my desk. I've got a signed copy to me
Woo!
that my goddaughter, who goes to Tulane University, he did a talk there, and she went to his talk and then decided I needed a copy of the book that was signed. So I haven't started reading it yet, but I'm really excited to get into that as well.
That's a
It'd be
great
great if we could get
gift.
him on the podcast.
Yeah, Sal, if you're
But
listening, come on the show. Come on the
yeah,
show,
yeah,
Sal. We'd love to
right.
have you. And he's
Um,
in one of those use case videos too.
Yes,
So
he is. They talked about some of the stuff that they're doing. So, yeah. So just there's so much happening, and just when you were talking about that, it made me think about Salman Khan and everything he's done with Kamigo, and just he's so focused on supporting kids around technology. So it just made me sitting here on my desk. So I had to share that fun news with you. But all right, well, let's get to what we're here for today. We're all about our May micro menu. We've got all these menus of amazing prompts that Tricia has put together for you to be trying out, to supporting kids, to supporting families, to supporting students and ourselves. Just a great menu that you can download over at shiftingschools.com, or if you're a newsletter subscriber, and if you're not, you should be. But if you are a newsletter subscriber, Tricia's been putting that out in the newsletter as well. Today, we're going to be looking at our menu that's all around the power of play. Before we do that, though, we want to first stop and have a pause for a word from today's show sponsor. Let's pause our discussion to spotlight Libra HQ, a breakthrough in using AI to deepen connections within organizations. Imagine an environment where every staff member feels truly seen and valued. This is the heart of Libra's mission. Libra transforms how leaders celebrate and recognize the personal and professional milestones of their team members. It's not just about reminders. Libra's AI dives deeper, offering insight into enhanced team cohesion and promote a culture where support and acknowledgement are paramount. Picture a school where every individual is acknowledged, from work achievements to personal victories, creating a culture of appreciation in just minutes a day. In these challenging times, where the demands on educators have never been higher, Libra offers a way for school leaders to lead with true empathy and compassion, ensuring every team member feels an integral part of their community's success. Discover how Libra can revolutionize your school's culture. For a demo, contact me at jeff@shiftingschools.com. Let's build a future where every educator and staff member feels connected and valued. And now, let's get back to our conversation. All right, with that, Tricia, let's talk about the power of play. Why don't you set this up for us?
So, if you are brand new to the show and this happens to be the first episode you're listening to, you would have missed the first two installments of our month-long May challenge, where we provide you with a micro menu of prompt templates for you to experiment with. So, we've already had week 1 that was looking at community building, week 2 that was looking at feedback, and now this week our theme is the power of play. And we did that for 2 reasons. 1, it's May. We want to be playful. 2, Jeff and I have a whole summer-long podcast series that's coming out by the same title. So there's a little bit of a heads up to watch out for more conversations about play, its uses in learning, and our life. We did have some feedback where people were saying, hey, this week micro menu of 6 prompts is too many. Can you make the menu smaller? So for this week and next, we've cut it in half. It's just 3 prompts. And if you're saying, what, 6 is too many? You might not have seen the other menus. These are mega prompts. These are prompts that follow our driver framework for building a prompt. So yeah, they're pretty lengthy. Jeff, you've been looking over the 3 mega prompt templates, and I know you picked out one. Again, folks, you can find all of them either in the show notes or at shiftingschools.com. But Jeff, tell listeners about the one that you would be the most excited to play with.
All right. So the one that I want to go and play with, and I'll do this right after we get off the podcast here today, but I really was drawn to the one that's about creating an interactive story. How do you create an interactive story with ChatGPT? And the reason why is when I was in school, choose your own adventure books. I loved choose your own adventure books, and that's what this prompt reminds me of. You can set up ChatGPT to almost be a choose your own adventure book around whatever topic a child might be interested in. So let me read the prompt to you, and then we can break this prompt down. So here's the prompt. You would type this into ChatGPT or any one of your favorite AIs. Here it is. You are an interactive fiction writer. You will be drafting an interactive story for an audience of, give it a grade level, a topic or a subject and/or subject. The aim is to inspire students to think about the significance of whatever concept you want as it pertains to give it some context. The interactive story should value the intelligence of the student and their creative thinking skills. The story should take no more than 5 minutes to finish and be written in a way that is accessible for readers with dyslexia, because I know you were thinking about me when you wrote this, Tricia. Please present one chapter at a time, allowing me to make a decision before continuing with the next part of the plot. Do not reveal any outcomes until a choice has been made. At the end of the story, include 3 questions for whatever activity I might want my students to do. Now, that whole thing you would type into ChatGPT. The great thing is, if you download our mega menu prompts, you can just copy and paste that in. We did all the work for you. You add in your grade levels, your topics, your subjects, and it's good to go. All right, Tricia, break down this prompt for us here. What are the parts that you like? What are you trying to do with this? And how does this fit inside our driver framework?
So what you'll notice with this mega prompt and the other 2 on the menu is that it starts by explaining to the AI, here is your designated role. Here's what you're trying to do. Again, in this example, I've said, you're an interactive fiction writer. I also tell it, what the task is, but also I give it some aims in terms of why it's important, who it's working with, and what I want it to value. That is really fun to play around with. We mentioned here that we want the interactive story to value the intelligence of the students and their creative thinking skills.
Mm,
Even though we have designated in this prompt, you can, change this word or that word. You can also change the other words too.
that's right.
So it might be, value the students' math skills and see where it takes the story, or value the students' awareness of social issues, or value the students' identity as Washington State natives.
Mm,
Again, there's a lot that you can play with there, and we encourage you to do that. So for me, that's the thing that, in my experimentation with prompt craft, I love tweaking that and seeing how the AI will differentiate the output based on what I have specifically said I want it to value. So this is where, Jeff, I'm so sorry you've heard me repeat this again and again and again. AI literacy is so closely tied to other literacies.
yeah.
When we're working on prompts, we're working on writing.
Yeah.
So, if you've heard folks say, like, oh no, this is going to kill creative writing and critical thinking, I disagree, adamantly disagree, because, you can invite students in to work on this prompt. What's the better word here? What's a stronger action verb? Let's
Mm.
see the result. Again, this is teaching writing today, I think.
I love that. And I like the second part of the prompt here is all about giving the AI some rules. You have to, and I love this, right? The story should be no more than 5 minutes to finish. Okay, that's a rule. You're not writing forever, because if anybody's played with these AIs, they will write forever. Nope. You need to be able to read it in under 5 minutes. It needs to be written in a way that's accessible for a reader that has dyslexia. You must present one chapter at a time. It's basically a list of rules. And that's the second paragraph to this, right? So the first paragraph is setting up the aim, the values, the structure of what you want to do. The second paragraph is, all right, now here are the rules to the game I want you to play. Such a great way to think about prompt engineering is, what do I want you to do? And then what are the rules I need you to follow in doing that? And it's very interesting, Tricia, because I used our driver framework with the superintendents here in the state of Washington at a conference recently. And after I showed them some starter prompts where they were just copying and pasting prompts that I gave, and they were like they're like 2 or 3 paragraphs. But then I was showing them our drivers prompt engineering, and had them start to create their own prompts. And they started realizing how difficult it was to come up with a really good prompt. And we had a great conversation about, this is still writing.
Mhm.
It's just writing in a different median, but it's still writing. You're still having to think critically about your word choice, your theme. It's all there. It's just different. And I think that is, to your point, we just got to wrap our heads around a new genre of writing that you and I didn't grow up with. And we might have to expand our definitions of what do we mean when we say genre.
And, I think, again, listeners of this show who are returning, whenever they hear us talk about AI, they hear us talk about taking a human-centered approach. Another way of thinking about this is, for me to craft a prompt where the output is really going to be close to what I'm looking for, I have to, as you mentioned, the rules are about my audience,
Mm,
right? That whole second part of that prompt is about audience and having the empathy piece of knowing what they will need. Now, the little hint that I want to give folks who might be new to playing around with a tool like ChatGPT is, if you're not necessarily getting the output to do what you want it to do. In this example, you're right, Jeff. Like, I was strongly influenced by those choose your own adventure stories.
yeah.
But when I first started trying this out, ChatGPT was giving me the choices and the outcomes. And I
Mm,
didn't want that, because I
yeah.
wanted the students to really have to make the choice without knowing what was coming. And so I was like, why am I not getting the output that I want? You can actually ask it,
Yeah.
hey, here's what I need. How can I change the prompt? So, that's another, I think, interesting thing is, notice what's not working and have that conversation,
Yeah.
dialogue with the tool as well. But yeah, absolutely. To get to this final prompt template, It was probably a good 15 minutes
Mm.
of what? Writing.
Yeah. And critically thinking and
Yep.
analyzing and evaluating and going back and having to go back and edit and revise your writing to get exactly what you wanted. Shocker. It's the entire writing process in a prompt.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's why, in the past 2 episodes, we were strongly recommending take these menus and have a little bit of a hackathon, either
Mm.
with your colleagues or your class, to come up with a better prompt.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
actually writers workshop
Yeah.
these prompts.
I love that.
Yeah. And again, when you're engaging, if I'm the teacher and I'm engaging the tool, we get the instant feedback to notice what the difference
Yeah.
is.
And I think, here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are heading into summer. I know schools start getting out here probably in the next week or so, depending on what state you are in. And then schools are kind of going into summer here over the next month. How important is it as we head into summer, as we're starting to thinking about parents and caregivers, that we know that there's summer learning loss that happens? It's well documented that taking summers off, we do see, kids regress, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying we need to have, I love my summers off too. There's a lot of other things you learn besides schooling, now playing with kiddos. But how important would it be to be able to take these menus and share them with parents? Why do we want to, I think, take this moment in time? If you are a teacher, you can download these prompts, sure, play with them in your classroom, but then put them in your newsletter out to parents and say, hey, if you're looking for something this summer to get your kid to write, to get your kid to think, to have some fun, here's some prompts. And folks, the AI tools are free. It's free. You can do all this for free. The only thing you need is a internet connection, but you can do it on your phone. But what else do you see as the importance of just involving parents in this conversation right now?
I mean, this might sound silly, but I notice within my own family, I just had a great family visit and we had a multi-generational conversation
Mm,
about AI. And the most magical part was actually us engaging with the tool together.
mm,
I've got a teenage nephew who I'm sure having dinner with his aunt and his grandparents isn't always like top of his social calendar demands, but he's preparing for a world of work where he absolutely knows this is going to have huge influence.
yeah.
And the engagement that I saw him have, like the perking up of, wanting to have that conversation about what the tools can do and
Mm,
cannot do, it was a beautiful thing.
cool.
My dad, his grandfather was also really into it. So I would say, Jeff, even just for like the multi-generational family bonding time, this thing is super cool.
Yeah, that's so cool.
With the power of play menu we have this week, the 2 other prompts look at improv ideation for anybody that likes theater. And then the last one is board game strategy.
Mm,
Board games, also really powerful across generations.
yeah.
My family loves playing Catan together. So again, we're also looking at prompts that can bring fun into the summer.
Mm,
I would say, learning loss aside, this is a summer where kids desperately need fun and joy. That's why we're
yeah.
focusing on it all summer long. And so we're also hoping this menu sets families up to be thinking about dynamic ways also to bring playfulness into their summer calendar.
I love that. I love that. Again, you can download those mega prompts either in the show notes or over at shiftingschools.com. This is part of our May in micro menu prompts here at Shifting Schools. Tricia, thank you so much for doing this episode with me. Quick reminder again, for that Foundation AI Literacy course is now on sale. You can use that code SSPOD25. That's all capitals, SSPOD25. That'll save you $25. It'll save you $25 on everything over there. So feel free to go shopping at the end of the year. And you get it basically for $50. It's $75. You'd save $25. You get it for $50 right there. So it's just a great way to go over and again, continue learning for yourself this summer as well. But the power of play, some really great prompts to be thinking about. Go download those now, either in the show notes or over at shiftingschools.com. And we will see you next week. Thanks, Tricia.
Thanks, Jeff.